Action.
Action.
Yep.
How do you feel about council or local government in general?
In its current form, I feel it needs to have a bit of a reform, go back to the start, get the basics right, and reevaluate where we are and what local government means to its community.
I like it. Yeah, trustworthy. Do you feel we are as a council?
In the past, not at all, I must say. Through some dealings with them myself, but also obviously grapevine, blah 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 blah. I do believe it's getting better because of some changes that have been made over the last sort of 6 months, or even less, over the last month or less, in terms of personnel changes and I don't know much about the policy changes and that, whether there has been any, but mainly personnel changes and people within the hierarchy of council.
What do you think we need to do to continue to, I guess, either improve or mend the previous mistrust or outrage that has been created?
Seeing a council that can complete a task they start and keep the basics running. It's been unfortunate with the weather lately. That has taken a massive toll on roads, etc. But it's not an unachievable task. Roads, footpaths, just go back to basics. That's what people see every day. That's what people feel every day. They don't need big shiny monoliths, etc., etc. They need the basics done right so that we can just get along with our daily lives in a more cohesive way than it has been previously.
So to you, would you say it's more important, or you would value more us looking after what we have, or continuing to, or focusing on getting more things?
Looking after what we have easily. There's a lot around not only the Woodall and Northern Beaches, but the whole Coffs LGA that you can see it's just deteriorating over the last 5, 10, 15 years. Visitors to town notice it, obviously locals notice it every single day, and those sort of things that's who we are as a community. We're as a community, we're more about, do we love being here? Do we have the basics right? Are we doing that right? Rather than, do we need new things to show off to other people?
Either if you were a counsellor for a day, and you could actually make a difference, or what advice would you give us, or what would you do? What would be your number one priority, or what advice would you give us that we should prioritise for our community?
Listen to the community is basically it. Listen to community and community groups. There's a lot of smaller groups around, both even if it comes down to like local sporting groups, but community oriented groups such as Chamber of Commerce and the Residents Associations, etc. A lot of them have a lot of wealth and knowledge that does go untapped because of, I don't know, for whatever reason, because they're not in a position. There is a lot of knowledge out there that can be and should be utilised by council and councillors, and just listen to. Yeah.
A bit of advice because you're so knowledgeable. What advice would you give the community so that they feel like they can get involved or make an impact?
Facebook is not the answer. If you want to make your voice heard, if you want to do something, either write an email to council or go and see councillors, have a meeting. Voicing your opinion on a Facebook page gets nothing done. All it does is rile up other people and get the whole community in a bit of an angst for no reason, and then everyone's saying we should do something, but nothing gets done because that medium it's not the right medium where action can be taken. Yeah.
Is there anything else you would like to say?
Not much, just get on with the basics. Forget about new projects. We don't need big shiny things for the next few years. If we're going into a bit of an era where we need to start pulling the purse strings, let's get the basics right. We don't need new things. If we go ahead and build all these new shiny pools and edifices in Coffs Harbour and parks here and there and everywhere, we then have to maintain them. If we start maintaining the ones that we already have, which should be a cheaper exercise, we can manage through the next sort of 5 or 10 years easy enough by doing that, and we'll have a community that looks the part without having all the brand new shiny things.
You're a smart man. You should run for council.
Dreaming.
Thanks for having a chat.
Pleasure.
So, tell me, how do you feel currently about our council in general? And if you were in charge of our priorities, what do you think is the most important thing we can do for the community?
I'd say I'm slightly disenchanted with the council at the moment,
Good choice of words.
because I think we really need to get back to basics. So I think we need to look after infrastructure, roads, garbage, solve the tip issue. You know, I think that there seems to be some real vision for grandiose sort of things instead of actually just focusing on the core business, which is delivering the things that we need to function as a community.
I love it. Good answer. Good answer. Have you ever thought about running for
Yes,
council?
and I thought no.
Also a good answer. Where do you think we sit as a community trust-wise? How do you think our relationship is going with local government, with our council, and how do you think that could be improved?
I think trust is a big issue because I think we've really lacked transparency over the last few years, and I think, you know, in fairness to you, you've done a good job in connecting with the community and actually listening to people, but I think there still seems to be a real divide between council and the community. And, you know, I think the community, well, certainly me, but I think the community believes that council is supposed to be representing the community rather than telling us what we should want or need.
Is there anything else you would like to say, or would like us to know, would like the councillors to know, would like the council to know?
I think the biggest thing is that you know, we've got a community that are motivated and keen and want to see great things, but we're also realistic. So, you know, if the reality is that financially we're not in a good situation at the moment, then let's actually resolve that and work through really strong financial management so we can deliver roads and footpaths and the key basics before we then start to have the big, you know, exciting projects. But we want them and we need them, but we need to be a little bit more clear on let's do the things that that are supposed to be done first and foremost.
And would you prefer to know? Would you prefer to know straight up, this is the situation we face and this is what we're going to do? Or do you think you would prefer to have the blow softened, so to say, and kind of spread it out a bit?
I think that the reality is transparency is key. So we need to be honest, we need to be upfront. If that's, you know, if that's the chips we're dealt at the moment, then let's get on with it. Let's actually set a plan in place that how do we get out of the mess we're in and move forward instead of pretending like there's not a mess. I just don't think that wins for anyone. It doesn't wash. Like, people aren't stupid. We've got a strong, vibrant, clever community. I think we want to be informed.
Excellent. You nailed those questions. Again, you sure you don't want to run for council?
Confident. The thing that I struggle with politics is that you're there to represent the community. Whatever level of politics, it's actually supposed to be about what's best for the town, the region, the state, whatever. But you're representative, so it's actually supposed to represent the wishes and desires of the community. And I just don't know that. I think politics has lost sight of that. It's a real struggle.
Yeah, it has. Garbage in, garbage out, as they say.
This is right. Yeah.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah.
I just want to ask you a few questions about the community and council. You can answer however you would like. How do you think that, as a council, we can best serve the community? What do you think is most important to you or to the community in general from a council perspective? What do you want from us?
Do I work from council? Well, as I said, it's nice to start being heard out in this area. It's always been concentrated a bit more south than Coffs and even a bit more south Sawtell, so it's nice that Woopi is getting a bit more in the front lane. But I really quite love the community out here. It's very tight-knit. The core group is...
You can come join if you want.
You can squeeze through. And so yeah, I love how we've still got the voice of the elders that have been here for generations and generations. But I love that it is growing and the youth are staying, and then there's opportunities for them to do that. Great.
Yeah, nice. I like it. Very well answered.
Okay.
Oh my God. What do you think is most important for us to focus on? Do you think that we are better off looking after what we have, so, you know, maintaining, keeping things in a good condition, or is it more important to you to see us getting new things for the community? Where does that balance lie for you?
I suppose.
Yeah.
Definitely maintaining the aesthetic of what is Woopi. It's just that beautiful coastal town that people come and visit year after year and all that. But I do love if the growth is in coherence with how Woopi is. So just if it's done properly, I think it can just be really beautiful, really.
I love it. And obviously, I guess with the current economic climate that everyone faces, you know, businesses, individuals, communities, you know, everyone is kind of feeling that pinch as far as looking after their money. What do you think if, you know, there's a finite bucket and we can't do everything, what do you think is what's the most bang for buck? What's most valuable? What should we prioritise?
Ooh. It's a good one. I suppose at the moment, from all that rain, there's definitely roads, maybe some streets, curb and guttering. Yeah, in all kind of little areas, really. Cops has the night markets, you know, like something like that out here. You know, we'll bring back that Market Street kind of food festival thing that they had. And
What do you think builds trust? How do you think we can ensure that the community trusts that we'll do what we say we're going to do and that we're being responsible with their money?
that's a transparency, I suppose.
Word of the day.
Yeah,
word of the day.
transparency. Just that open communication. I suppose, and getting if something needs to be said and brought to the community, like finding it in different avenues that it really does get to. Because sometimes in New Zealand you don't hear about something until someone mentions something. You know, I'm like, I never heard of that. I was like, when did that happen? So
I think it's more important that we're honest even if it's bad news, or do you think we should try and soften the blow?
no, really, yeah, that just goes back to that transparency. Yeah, like you can't always cushion everything. Yeah, you want to everything's kind of easy, and you just want to know thought process of how to do it.
Yeah. Amazing.
Oh my God, I'm sweating.
What do you love about our community?
Oh, I think the best thing is that we all say hello to each other. Yeah, and that everybody's so friendly.
Yes, that's so good. And what do you think the most important things that council do for our community out here?
I'm not too sure that council do have enough of a focus on Woopi, to be very honest. At the moment I'm struggling to think of something that council have done recently. Please.
No, I like the honesty. It's all good. What would you like them to do? What do you think they need to do?
The first thing I'm going to say to you is, and they need to rethink this idea that they have about changing our parking. This is our business community here. We have got so many people in the community who are, some of my customers, that lady that was in here just now, when we came in, was 87. She's walking with a walking stick. Now, I know the council have decided in their wisdom to put this roundabout in, and they're going to make Trafalgar Street inclusive of our CBD parking. It's not going to work. What's going to happen is people like that lady that was just in here, and I can name dozens of people, they will go somewhere like Moonee where they can get a parking space within walking distance to the shops and the facilities that they need. And we are going to end up getting left out. And it's going to be really detrimental to small business. Small business has suffered enormously in the last two and a half years with COVID, the floods, the fires. It's been a real struggle. And that this is just going to be another nail in the coffin for us.
And so if you were in a position where you got to be mayor for a day or whatever, wave a magic wand, what do you think the solution is, or what would you like to see happen with the parking, or to support businesses to make the town more accessible or user friendly, I guess, so that we are encouraging more people to come? What do you think?
Absolutely. The first thing I'm going to say is that we need more disabled parking here.
Yep.
And it needs to be close. We've got one here.
Yeah.
All right? And that is utilised. It's rarely vacant. It is at the moment, but I've usually got people who drive around the block 3 or 4 times, 5 times, looking for parking.
Yeah.
Okay, and these are people who do struggle physically.
Yeah.
We've got 2 over in that parking lot over there. It's just not enough. That's the first thing. The second thing is that if they make this area parallel parking, they are literally cutting our parking down by half. At the moment, we've got nose in. You can see, all right, this is a quite a time of the day. It's not a busy time of the year. We're in between season here.
Yeah.
Look how many cars are here.
Yeah.
If they take half our parking away, that's half our customers. That's half the people that are going to come to Wooga, and it's not just the locals, it's visitors that are coming here and they're just astounded at the growth here.
Yeah.
So we've got more people coming here as well.
So just being able to accommodate them and make it easy to utilise what we...
Absolutely. The other thing too is, and I've had several people comment about this as well, there's no garbage bin. On this side of my street, there is nothing.
Yep.
I think there's one over there. There's nothing. There's no seats here for people who do struggle to walk distance. They can't stop any. My seats are out. They're welcome to use those. But for people who are elderly or have a physical handicap, it's not enough.
No, you've made some really, really good points. Accessible parking, the bins, that is a big thing, and of course, being able to make the area easy for people to take a break if they need to. Great suggestions.
If we I'm very happy that you came to talk to me because I really felt that this needs to be said. If we are going to survive, if retail is going to survive the last couple of years and the next few years that it takes us to build back up again, we're going to need assistance to do that, and we're going to need to make this area as shopper friendly and user friendly as possible.
Yeah, and I think that's what we need. We need strong businesses, help to create strong communities as well. And what you've said around, needing to recover and rebuild from all of the ongoing things that seem to just be compounding.
Yep.
Business isn't, I guess, the only one that's in, I guess, a bit of a tentative financial situation. Individuals are, businesses are, communities are.
Yes.
So are councils. Do you think it's more important that if we have to tighten the belt, that we maintain and make good what we have, or do you think we should put our money into new things? What do you think is the best use of our limited resources?
I think we can build on what we've got. And I think given that there are established businesses here, I mean my business has been here, mine and Ian's business has been here since 2000 in this same shop. Woody's Wheels would be the same, the accountants, I think that we need to improve on the infrastructure that is already existing, rather than be trying to build new areas. The other thing too is that parking lot across there. It's a shame that. And I was secretary for the chamber, and I do remember sitting in on one of the meetings where we did touch on that briefly. And I think Tony Ross is the architecture and engineer, and he did say that they had looked at making that a multi-level parking space, and that he didn't feel that there was enough room for that to happen. I don't know whether that it could be looked at again, because that would be an ideal solution.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and and like I said, it's already here. Let's just improve on it.
Yeah, I like it. Can I ask this lovely lady what she thinks of Wooga?
Well, she's actually quite a popular figure in Market Street, I must say. She's had several offers of dinner.
Oh.
She's had quite a few, men wanting her phone number.
Oh. She just keeps quiet.
She's very reserved in her comments.
Her looks say it all.
Yeah.
She's just observing.
No way is she as outspoken as her the proprietor of this establishment.
That's right. She knows the thing.
Oh, the knowledge
But
she fuses.
Holding her tongue.
Oh, bless her. She does such a good job, and she does sell that dress so well.
I know. I want that dress. It's a great dress.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Thank you very much for your time. That was really awesome, and all your suggestions were so on point. So. Yeah.
Well, I've been thinking about them for a while. Yeah. To be honest with you, it's something that Mr. Finch has also been very busy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I definitely owe him a strawberry milkshake and a catch up.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you want to ask anyone anything about Wooga, he is definitely the person that's going to be able to tell you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, very good. We're just having a chat to our wonderful local community, and Lisa did suggest the Fluoro crew. So here we are, fortuitously enough, because I wasn't at Fluoro this morning. So I'm just going to ask you some questions just about community council, your thoughts. You can't get it wrong because they're your opinion, and you're allowed to say anything you want, as little or as much as that happens to be.
Okay, Putin sucks.
Okay, excellent.
Cops Council.
What do you think is the best bit about our community?
Knows each other, and surprisingly few people judge each other, which is rare in a small community. I've lived in a lot of small communities, and normally judgment comes, but in Woolgoolga it seems to be do whatever you want to do. So if it's not hurting anyone, off you go. Except if you want to wear a dress to Fluoro Friday.
Totally sidetracked. I actually want to make us fluoro circle rainbow skirts that are unisex. I have the pattern, and then I have the dance to go with it. Just
And do you have do you know of a counselling course for people who hold grudges?
only inappropriate answers came to my mind, so I'm going to say no. What do you think is the best thing or bit about what council does for us as a community out here?
Well, you don't see them, but they've painted all the roads and stuff lately, and so I suppose that they're doing what they're supposed to do. You know, they're staying out of the way. They don't, you know. But there's always going to be contention between the holiday makers, the ones who come up here for 3 weeks every year, and the ones that have to live here. There's always going to be issues around it, you know.
How do you personally feel about council or the level of services, the representation that you have here? How do you feel?
It's about right. It's about right. There's a good balance. I mean, I know we're out of costs. I know we're paying costs rates, but we're out of costs, so we're not anywhere near the size of costs. We don't need street lights or traffic lights or any of that sort of stuff. So they leave us alone enough, I feel. Yeah.
Okay, I like it. I like it. That is a unique view, and that's pretty cool. Do you feel that you know a lot about what happens in council, how your money's spent?
No, I've got no idea.
Do you
I don't want to know.
You don't know? Yeah, cool. I like it.
Well, it's not that I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm apathetic. I don't want to know.
That's a great answer.
Because there'd be stuff going on that I don't want to know about. So.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
Plausible deniability.
Yeah.
Which you wish
You
you
got us
probably
stumped
had.
for words, Damon. I've never seen that
wish you had.
before.
I'm trying. Yeah, I'm.
Know how the sausage is made. I don't.
Yeah.
I'd much rather not know.
And we all know how questionable sausages are.
Yes.
Many puns intended. We're gonna have to delete so much of this. Lisa's like, no, we're just gonna roll with it.
Been on this train before.
Yeah. Sausage train. If you had a magic wand and were mayor for the day, where would your priorities lie? What are we doing well? What do we need to change?
Well, potholes. You've only got to drive 250 metres up that way, and there's massive potholes.
Big enough to not need any pool.
Big enough to damage your car. They've got to be done first and foremost. Community consultation, I suppose. Ask people what they want.
100%. And do you think it's more important to look after what we have, or do you think that's going okay and we have capacity to go after more new things?
I think we should look after what we've got first. Yeah. And we need a couple more Lisa Nichols.
I would second that.
That will go in a highlighted section.
She's awesome.
14 point.
Yeah. No, she's
100%, yeah.
If I've ever got a question, I just flick her a message, is the markets on this Saturday or whatever, and she knows everything.
Call me Woogle.
Yeah.
That's like Woopi Leaks and Woogle. So what can we do better? As council, as a community, they should be interlinked. So what do you want to see? What's your vision?
Outings, but more community functions, like a kite flying day,
Oh, the
everyone
kite
goes
flying
to a swim
day.
or...
Everyone goes through a swim day. I'm here.
Yeah.
That's a good day. We had a
Yeah,
kite flying
like-
day and everybody's kites got caught in a string, so we made Damon spend the rest of the day untangling them.
You're right here.
You wanted this? You're going to untangle them.
You asked for this.
Or a fishing day, or whatever. Just more community things, And
Free community stuff.
They used to do sausage sizzles down at Woolies, and they don't do that anymore. And it was Lions Club.
See, sometimes sausages can be good.
Maybe we need a Facebook page or something.
A group.
Someone should start a group.
Doing something else by then.
Yeah. Anyway, well, yeah, right. We need it. Yeah.
Anyway,
online
maybe
community notice board.
Maybe like a council community notice board. Wake up on a Saturday morning and I'm like, well, what am I going to do today? Well, I'm going to go and watch the footy.
Here are all the things.
Yeah.
Like a mum. Everyone needs a community mum.
Yeah.
Mum, I'm bored. Yeah, here's all the things that you can do today.
Yeah, there you go.
Today, what would you do? We'd all be swimming and fishing and flying kites. I'm here for it.
Well, who would?
Best man ever.
Best man ever. Oh, okay. So, would you ever consider running for council?
No.
Why not?
It says that.
Why not, Damon?
Yeah,
You're a very intelligent man.
You are.
You're not coming across as one today, but you are.
Neither am I, so it's all good. We're all in this together. Should we pretend that? Welcome to Google News Now. What is your favourite bit about our community? What's the best bit?
I really like how you can be just about anywhere, Woolworths or at a coffee shop or at the beach, and you'll usually run into someone you know. They might not be someone you know well, but an acquaintance, someone you can nod hello, and I think that's probably the best part for me. It doesn't matter where you are on Northern Beaches, you'll run into someone you know.
Well, that is the standard answer.
Yeah.
So there you go, connected community. High five, go us. If you got to be mayor for a day, and you could actually wave a magic wand and make things happen at the pace that you would like as opposed to government pace,
Yep.
what would you do?
And I was only for a day.
Only for a day, but you can achieve anything in a day.
Well, let's go really local first. I'd get rid of the Woolgoolga bike path, that lane, the temporary one. I think as a cyclist, I think the safest way was to actually just have wider roads, like to have wider lanes, because that's where people rode. Look, I was disappointed at Council's ultimate position on the jetty foreshores, because I think that there are so many commonalities between where the department's initial position was and where most of the councillors' heads were at, that yet they voted in a completely different way. So that would be one thing I would change. Look, it's hard to know. Council, I mean, maybe because I'm looking at this from someone who's like a political insider, but I mean, Council on the general as a whole does a good job on most things. People usually only get engaged with Council when they've got some sort of problem. I would probably, if I could, make planning a whole lot easier and simpler, so people can actually get their DAs through in a reasonable, quick time frame, without too many delays for no reason. Yeah, look, I mean, in general, most local governments have a pretty tough job, and I reckon they do a pretty good job most of the time. Yeah.
What's most important then? What do you think, as a community, what do we need?
Well, I should say we want a lot of things, but what we probably need most is good planning, and good planning will probably answer those questions for us. What we don't need is a bike path going down Beef Street. But when we talk about bike infrastructure, do we need to plan for better bike infrastructure in general? Yes. We've got good connectivity between the beaches, so good planning in general will kind of tease out a lot of those issues. So that's my answer.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a cop out, but
no, it's not.
Yeah, but better planning resolves so many issues that we're seeing everywhere.
You're not going to get any argument from me. Really good answer. So even though you chose the same as everyone else for the previous one, no one else has said that yet. So I like it. I 100% agree with you. Yes, planning is really, really important. And so once we have those plans, what do we do with what we have versus what we need?
Look, it's always a fine balance between looking after what you have and improving what you have versus starting again. Best case in point, I think, has been the surf club. There were many people in the community who thought that the old surf club should have been improved or renovated. But going through the process, and when you talk to the people who actually had to go through the process, there were too many obstacles in the way, and they had to make that decision to start again. And yes, we lose a little bit of our iconic architecture in Woolgoolga, but on the flip side, we also gain a club, and we also gain something new. So yeah, that'll depend on what it is. But look, Woolgoolga's changed heaps in just the last 20-something years. When I left to go to uni, I think it was about 3,000 population, and now it's double that. So, in just one generation, it's doubled its population. By the time, we're reaching retirement age, it might double again. We don't know. So, we're expecting to see so many changes again, and I think it's healthy to expect that change. In a lot of communities, we see people very resistant to anything changing, but if we look at West Woolgoolga, that sporting complex is going to change. It's going to change the face of Woolgoolga, whether we like it or not, and we just need to embrace that and work with the community to make sure that everyone's on that journey as well.
Yeah, high five. And we all got very good practice at embracing that this morning with the traffic lights.
Oh, was there traffic lights this morning?
As part of construction. No, I was very proud of all of us because on both sides, people were letting people in. We had merging under control without merging lanes. So That was my grateful moment for the day. For the community was like, high five us, go look at what we can do, and everyone was being very accepting. So I was concerned that there was maybe going to be a whinge on Facebook, but I was also very proud of the people in the moment who were doing the right thing.
Give it time. I'm sure there is a whinge up there somewhere. But
no,
look,
they're not going to.
It's inevitable that as our town grows, like there's now calls for traffic lights at the Woolworths roundabout, given how busy that can be. So maybe we'll go from having not even roundabouts to having one, two, maybe three sets of traffic lights. Who knows? Well,
we are growing, and everyone wants to be us and live here. So yeah, can't blame them really. We'll just have to be part of it.
Yeah.
Okay, it's probably, so I think you're going to have probably more insight into this than people generally from the conversations I've had, just because I guess there's a little bit of apathy towards anything government related in general. But I assume that the same feelings are going across all three levels of government. So everyone needs to tighten their belts a little bit at the moment. Budgets are always, what do we say, the fiscal nature of government.
Well, they're always under pressure. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Good political answer there. That's why you're a politician.
So are you?
No, I'm not going to call you that. So, budget-wise, if we need to tighten the budgets, pull the strings in, do the things, this is not a new conversation. Like concerns have been happening for a while now, and I think it's probably important that we stop skirting around the issue. Do you want to know? Are you just tell me how it is, rip the Band-Aid off, let's just do it? Or do you think that we need to soften the blow, commit to the things that we've already committed to? What's the balancing act for you?
For me personally,
both personally and as
professionally. Well, look, without knowing the details, I guess professionally it's hard to answer, but personally, I'm a rip the Band-Aid off, because often in my head, I'll often think of the worst case scenario, and the reality is often less than that. So I would rather just know the truth up front, so that I don't imagine something worse. And I think I don't know if communities are ready for that, because they've been cotton-wooled a bit probably in the last 2-3 decades. Everything's always been rosy, and we've had many good years in a row. The GFC didn't really affect us up here. Then COVID hit, and we had 2 super disruptive years. And on the flip side of COVID now, some people are doing the best they've ever done, but some people are truly struggling. So, where it's not all as rosy as what it has been in the past.
So you think that it could be a bit disruptive to just tell the truth?
No, yes, it could be, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say we have opposing views on that, because you said that you were concerned with how people would...
Well, some people would be just like me. They would want to know.
Yeah.
And then others perhaps might want to have to blow cushions. But there are other people who just aren't engaged at all. And it might come as a shock because they think everything's going swimmingly. But
can you think of another time where that maybe happened to our community?
Leading me on a question?
Yes, I am. It's fine. When was the last time that people were disengaged and then became outraged because they weren't following along?
So the reason I said professionally, I don't know. It depends on the size and scale of the issue. And hypothetically, if you were changing garbage pickup day from Wednesday to Thursday, that is an issue where immediately and strongly it should be communicated, because it's relatively low stakes. And yes, you might get some people who are annoyed that they have to change their calendar or whatever it might be. But
we have an app
the service is going to remain the same. It's just going to be on a different day. Whereas if you were asking the community, let's say hypothetically there was going to be a rate rise, and you were asking the community to accept a rate rise to cover some expenditure that came out of the blue. That is something that you might need to potentially soften the blow on, because people weren't expecting that. And yes, they still should be told at the earliest possible opportunity.
Okay, so I feel like I'm arguing with George now, and I see you're actually making me understand where he's coming from a little bit. Okay, I get what you're saying. You're saying soften the blow, but I feel like when we soften the blow, we actually lose people, because it's only when we're like, hello, this actually has an impact on you, that they're like, what? Hang on, I'm busy. What are you trying to say? So I am from the opposite school of thought, which is like, don't soften the blow. Tell them exactly as it is. What's more important to you? Do you think it's more important to look after the things we have, or to keep going after new things? And I think this is probably very pertinent to you, given that you're state government and you're the one who can give us the new things, you and Kevin for Northern Beaches. But yeah, what do you think? I'm actually asking you this as a state rep. I'm asking you this as a resident and a local person. What do you want to see every day?
Well, I think you have to do both. I think you have to be able to maintain what you've got, but then you have to be striving to make new facilities as well, because firstly our population's growing, so we have more people. But secondly, I just think our needs and our wants are growing as well. So, growing up, a BMX pump track, we never really had a need or a want for that, but now there's one going in. Facilities for, there's talk of people wanting to do like an ocean pool. Well, that's something new that we haven't had before. New and improved restaurant facilities, those kinds of things. So they're new things that we have to keep striving for. We're living our lives differently to what we did 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I think most people would be lucky to go out for dinner once a month, maybe once every now and then. Most people nowadays are going out for dinner once a week, maybe some people a couple of times a week. We're just different now.
What you said about the ocean pool, and that is a very balanced view as far as we have to look after what we have as well as continue to grow for the future.
What's your thoughts on that, if I'm to turn the tables around?
Oh, okay. I think right now, so I guess I'm coming at it from a different perspective to you, and knowing from a council perspective that we have probably been quite creative in how we have dealt with depreciation and asset maintenance. And so for me, my priority, while I guess if you put it to looking, like take it all the way down to like a family budget, would you put in a new pool if the gutters were leaking and the driveway had massive potholes? Not that you get potholes in a driveway, but you know where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
So to me, I see your balance, and I think probably like a quarter future growth right now, but park it for like maybe a year or two and focus on getting us get us good in a good place, and then move forward. But that's our responsibility. We still have you and the feds to help us.
And look, the house is a great one, because you're not going to go out and buy a new flat screen TV if you've got a hole in your roof. And that's something that obviously council internally would have to look at. What are the holes in the roofs that we need to fix?
Or the roads.
Yeah, that's right. But like an ordinary household budget's a great way of thinking about it. Every year you're doing maintenance on your house. You do. You mow the lawn, every other week. You do have to do regular maintenance on things like taps and whatever. But your kids will need a new computer every now and then. So or a bike. And so that's right, or a trampoline, whatever it might be. So and that's because as your family grow and your kids get older, your needs and wants change. But you still have to maintain the roof over your head. And that's why I think it's such a tricky thing to say one or the other. I think the reality is you have to strike that balance between both.
If you're in a position to do both, and I think, as you said before, with how we communicate with people and people's different expectations and experiences of the last 2 years also apply, because for what you said, the majority of people will be like, yeah, absolutely, I see that balance. And for some people, they're in a position that, they can't do those kind of things because of where they are. And it's all justified and relevant and individual people's perspectives. So here's a interesting one that you may not be able to answer. So we spoke about ocean pool, we spoke about the balance between doing what we need to do versus accommodating the growth. Currently, the system doesn't allow for the ongoing maintenance or looking after projects once they're done. So we can get a grant to build a thing, but not to look after it. This is a personal view, I personally believe that we need to create communities where we aren't always looking to the governments to fund stuff. So how do we empower a community to take control over? So if we say, okay, council, you got this, fix the roads, do the things. Okay, community, let's work together and get the ocean pools and the fun stuff in the future. Answer the question I don't have an answer to, please.
I think it comes down to expectations. So, I play touch football and I pay a fee every year to join up, and that covers, admin, lights, insurance, and a small part of it goes towards field maintenance or field hire, which then all the field hire collected pays for some of the maintenance, but it doesn't pay for it all. At the end of the day, that has to be subsidised by whoever owns that field, usually council. So is it that we're just accustomed to getting things cheaply? And do we pay for it through other things like rates? But then, if council weren't looking after things like sporting fields and the like, then our rates should come down as well. So technically you would say we already are paying for it through our rates.
Yeah, well, and we do have high rates. That is an ongoing debate. I do look at us go. We've gone from the family analogy to the sporting club analogy, and that's actually a really good one, because you have people who raise money and who do those things. How do we ensure then, if we're talking about rates and taxes and all of the things, and how do we fairly distribute it, and how do we make sure that, given that council are probably going to, for the foreseeable future,
take a step back in accepting, I'm going to call them unsolicited grants.
So-
yeah, how do we empower our community to get the things we want?
That's the challenge of governments all over the world.
I know, and I don't particularly
and
like
if I had those answers, if I had a definitive answer, but I mean, realistically, slowly and carefully. That's why people elect good people, hopefully, to government, so that they can spend, collective resources well. And that's why people vote certain people in the government. They have a vision for how they want to spend our collective pool resources, and people vote based on that vision. And it's not a perfect system by any means, but it's the best system we have. And most other systems, dictatorships, communism, and the rest have their own flaws. But yeah, it's not. There's no definitive answer to that.
Good answer. Good answer.
Good non-answer.
No, for a political answer, it was pretty good.